Start recording in three, two. Hey, welcome back, everybody, to the Unconnoisseur channel. I'm your co host, Drew.
And I'm Matt.
This week, we have a real heavy hitter on the table, something I think we both thoroughly enjoyed. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. I know that this past week, y'all have enjoyed it as well. We'll get to that in just a second. But I was telling Matt a little moment ago that had been reading this Wayne Shorter book, and one of the images that he put in here to motivate the men and women on the bandstand that he played with. Wayne is full of Wayneisms, if you will, and this one hit me pretty hard because we talk about the rabbit hole all the time. And he said in his book here, and he chided them only in the moment, in the most oblique ways. Sometimes the rabbit runs down the hill. I'm sorry, rabbit runs down the hole, and sometimes the rabbit falls down the hole. In this week, thinking about that, a rabbit falls down the hole or a rabbit runs down the hole. What was this week in music for you? Did you run or did you fall down this rabbit hole?
Man, I tried running. I did. I tried running down the hole, but I ended up falling and I fell hard. How about you?
I started to run. I think that my body and my mind wanted to go faster than my legs could. So I tripped, stumbled, and fell and kept sliding. It was chasing bunnies down that. All of the different music that came to mind because of this one bass player. So what's your week been like?
He's so influential in the first place and he's played with so many different artists that you could literally just rabbit hole one way and stay on that rabbit hole and then complete other rabbit hole another day or another week or whatever. So yeah, anyways, I'm sorry, what was your question?
I think you answered it. Fall, run, or you were divided, because I know that on one end, the rest of the week, that's what I was asking. The rest of the week, what's this week been like? I know that we're doing a couple of albums now a week, one to stay caught up in our personal stuff, which will be tomorrow, and then of course the recordings of stuff. So this week's album, we'll get to say who it is, but hopefully y'all listen to it all week long. Jocko is no surprise here, but the rest of the week.
We introduced him last week, so everyone knows who we're talking about this week. But the rest of the week, well, it's St. Patrick's Day, first of all, yesterday. So, and I'm proud to say that I'm a storm chaser. Gaelic Storm is a band that my wife and I have followed for, man, it's probably literally been 20 years since we've been following them. We try and see them live a couple of times a year. So St. Patrick's Day is always fun for us because we put on Gaelic Storm, and I actually made bangers and mashed yesterday for dinner and enjoyed a couple of Guinness yesterday. So yeah, but otherwise in the jazz side, it was a good week for me listening. Like Drew said, the artists that we're currently personally working on is a fun artist to listen to. But if I had my choice to come back and re-listen to Jocko again, that's kind of where I was leaning this week. So I had a lot of Jocko, a lot of Weather Report in my ears this week. How about you?
Yesterday, actually Saturday night, Lily had a sleepover with a friend, so she was out of the house. Sunday, our normal routine with her not being here was kind of shot. I didn't even think about it being St. Patrick's Day, and now it reminds me why Patrick and Joe and Alex were texting yesterday, as our friend Patrick would be sending out St. Patrick's Day stuff. Oddly enough, not knowing it was St. Patrick's Day, it kind of hits me pretty hard that even on St. Patrick's Day, not knowing it, I was compelled to open that bottle of Jameson. So it serves me well.
Yeah.
I would have
your liver's not liking you right now either.
It's really not. I didn't go too heavy, but that mason jar wasn't exactly empty. So it's funny because I would think about Jameson, and it had been a while since I've consumed any of that. But Louis, Uncle David, And so hanging out with him, I know that this would have been a big celebration. And I guess instinctively, I just knew to raise a glass.
Yeah. Yeah, him and Aunt Nan were big Gaelic Storm fans as well.
Yep.
So I actually, the T-shirt that I was wearing was a gift from him before he passed away. He gave it to me. It didn't fit him anymore, and fortunately for me, I had a large in that T-shirt, and he gave me the extra large. So that's the one that I was wearing yesterday. Was
That's
Uncle
awesome.
Dave's T-shirt? Yeah. So yeah,
That is so cool.
I raised a black and tan for Uncle Dave as well.
There you go. So it was a good St. Patrick's Day.
It was a good St. Patrick's
It was.
Day.
Good deal.
Yeah. Hey, I'm going to read something real quick. Yesterday in history, March the 17th of 1965, pianist Herbie Hancock records Maiden Voyage. And we haven't touched on Herbie yet, but he is a big influence in the jazz community, the jazz world. And I think I hope, anyways, that he's on the list coming up. And I hope we get to take in Maiden Voyage. If you've not heard Maiden Voyage, give it a listen, see what you think, and hopefully it's coming up on the list, or at least an album from Herbie. So, yesterday in history.
I would definitely anticipate that we would see some of his stuff coming up.
I sure hope so.
All in due time.
All in due time.
All in due time. Anything else that has been going on this week with you?
Well, I didn't make any huge mistakes this week, if that's what you're asking. I didn't clog the drain. Didn't. Yeah. Well, wait a minute. Yeah, I did make a mistake this week. I had a little spill at work last week, and thankfully I'm okay. And my boss just texted me just to make sure I was okay. But yeah, that's.
I won't ask you to explain it, but
yeah,
I remember talking to you about it.
Yeah, well, you were talking to me literally just about half an hour after it happened, so I was still kind of reeling in pain. You just never know, with an accident of a person my age. If I had broken my hip and needed, care,
a person my age.
But you just never know. So I did have to file the report, and they were just double checking and making sure I was okay. So, but I am okay.
So, how's your feelings? Are they hurt?
My feelings are hurt because it was a really, really dumb mistake, and I will not make that mistake again anytime soon.
No. Well, this week I took some time listening to Jacko and built Dad's bike. So we ordered a bike for him a couple of weeks ago. It came in. I've got it assembled. I was able to do that while listening to some music, and now it's packaged back up. We'll get it shipped out tomorrow, actually, to him, so that he can finish the build of it, and he'll have a new bike. Speaking of people of that age, you're nowhere near there, and he's upgrading bikes. So I think somebody in their early 70s being out on a bike like that. So it was fun building that bike, and I've been building some bikes. Even today, I got 4 hours there and finished up this week's albums that we're covering currently for conversation tomorrow. So I've had a lot of music in my ears. So I want to say this without further ado. This week's album, as a reminder to everybody, was 91. As we count down from 100 to 1, we're 10 weeks in, actually, to this conversation. This would be our 10th album. 91 is Jaco Pastorius, and the album is Jaco Pastorius. It was on Epic, and it was released in 1975. I'm going to drop that and then say, Matt, what other music with Jaco did you get into, and what did you think? You knew about him beforehand. Replaying that video, you knew of him.
I knew of him, and the funny part was being in the military band, we had a really really good bass player, and I just remember his demeanor, his kind of attitude, and I would always talk to my friends in the band about who their influences were, or who they listened to, and he would just say Jocko, and I mean I had no clue who Jocko was. So back in the day, before the invention of the internet, you actually had to go out and purchase music and CDs and records. Um, but the interesting part is I didn't really get into Jocko at that time. I got into Jocko when I really started listening to Pat Metheny, and him, Pat, and Jocko were cohorts actually. And I read this morning. They were cohorts at Berkeley. Jocko was teaching a course, and Pat Metheny was teaching a course, and so they decided to put some music together. And so that's kind of my introduction to Jocko was through Pat Metheny. And if you're good enough to play with Pat, then you're good enough for me to listen to. That's for sure. This album does not disappoint one bit. I mean, I had so much fun listening to this album. Um, even the fifth, sixth, seventh time through. That's how I listen to I mean, I listen to it straight through, 1 through 10 or 1 through 8 or whatever, however it is. Um, and I just I don't know. And then you put on his work with Weather Report, and if you've never heard of Weather Report, actually we don't know if that's coming up on the list. I sure
I
hope it
hope
is.
so. I hope so.
Yeah, I sure hope it is coming up in the list. But his work with Weather Report, it's different. It's different. It's not solo Jocko. But I had a lot of Weather Report in my ears as well. How about you?
It's interesting because sometimes you run down the rabbit hole and sometimes you fall down it. When when I listen to this album, you think, man, what a great album. The songs that stand out to you, the music, the style. He's a bass player. It's not often that you really find bass players as the main headliner, if you will. You'll
Mhm.
hear horn players or drummers, Blakey, um,
Piano players.
piano players, but you don't typically hear bass players. You didn't. Let me rephrase that. I know that that's all changed today, and there's some amazing bass players out there. You've got Ron Carter, who has got some trio stuff. So there are bass players, but Jocko in the mid '70s with an electric bass, come on.
Yeah.
Um, I ended up with a lot of Weather Report when I found out it back in the first run through. Let's rephrase that.
Yep.
First run through, running down this rabbit hole and falling all over myself. He was with them from '76 to '81. There are 7 albums that he recorded with Weather Report. Those names will come to pass as we talk later. One of the reasons I'm reading about Wayne Shorter as part of he and Joe Zawinul with Weather Report. But when I think, man, this is just a lot of the terminology would be fusion jazz rock,
Hmm.
and that would be the category that took place in the '70s. And I'll go to that in a moment, unless it's in your slide. You may have that in your slideshow,
I do. Yep.
fusion jazz rock, so we can talk about that then. But what blew me away is switching gears from this heavy duty Jocko album or Weather Report album to Bright Sized Life. Pat Metheny, Bright Sized Life. And I mean, come on.
Yeah.
You
Yes.
go from Jocko's album to Pat Metheny album. 74, it was called Jocko or Reborn. And Pat Metheny played on Jocko's album. And that first album by Jocko was just really chill. Then Jaco Pastorius came out, and it had Herbie Herbie
It had,
Hancock on it, and Wayne Shorter and Randy Brecker. There was no doubt that there's a list of names on it.
Mhm.
But when you think about Pat Metheny's sound, for all of y'all that don't understand our excitement, go check a Pat Metheny album out,
Oh,
and go check out Bright Size Life, because this is a Jocko bass line in there.
and
Just
those are the kind of rabbit holes that we're talking about that you'll find yourself in. Excuse me, because you're listening to Jocko. Who did he play with? What other artists can you envelop that week? And you're going to fall on Pat Metheny, and I
yeah,
promise you, it's going to be an easy fall.
it is.
Yeah.
It was like landing on a soft cushion at the bottom of it. Uh,
Yeah.
but Pat Metheny in and of it, this for us was a big week back in the day. When I look down and I got almost 4 pages of notes that I took, just the different albums and who he played with, when did he play with, and his life was short as well. One of those quick, burning stars.
Yeah.
Go check out Wikipedia. Matt and I both came across the fact that there is a Jocko documentary out there, and I found late last night it was the Lost Tapes session, almost an hour and a half of more interview type stuff. There's a plethora of information about this cat out there.
I
Um,
see. I didn't even run into that one. So you'll have to make sure you put that link up on the
oh yeah,
channel in the first place. If let me take 1 second. I just want to read the first part of the first paragraph in the magazine. There was only one Paganini, one John Coltrane, one Charlie Parker, and there was only one Jocko.
and that was said by Peter Erskine
Yep.
of
From
his
Weather.
weather report.
Yep.
Yeah, there's only one Jocko.
Yeah.
There have been lots after that like Victor Wooten. I've drawn a blank on the other bass players. There was a trio of bass players that went out on tour. Man, they've got some sound on the electric bass. Let's
Yes.
remind everybody that it was electric bass. He never did do the jazz stand-up bass. He was all electric, and a homemade fretless electric bass.
That I was doing some reading on, and it turns out that um, that the guitar manufacturer actually started making the guitar like Jocko made it. Um, where's the paragraph? Shoot, I should have had it. Oh, Fender. It was Fender.
Fender.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Fender started making it. They thought that he took the frets off with a butter knife and then sealed the fretboard with epoxy. So that's what they started doing. They would build the bass guitar, then take the frets off, fill it in with epoxy, and they would do it just like they think Jocko did.
That is so funny. It
Yeah.
Reading his life story, it wouldn't surprise me if he did.
No, not at all.
He didn't really much build a drum to march to his own beat. He just kind of had that drum sitting there, used whatever he could, but he seemed like somebody who did march to his own beat. So to do something like that, it wouldn't surprise me. I would have never thought, but well, I've got this bass, but I don't like the sound. Hopefully, y'all enjoyed this week as much as
Yeah.
we did, because man, I sure did.
Oh,
I
I did
really
too.
did.
Yeah. Yeah.
He Weather Report in 1976. That was Black Market, and then the one that I really listened a lot to was Heavy Weather.
Heavy
That
weather.
album in and of itself was so phenomenal. This week I did get into Mr. Gone,
Ooh.
which was a whole nother type of album. Uh, and then of course the Weather Report, thusly named in 1981, Weather Report.
Hmm.
Uh, what what was the album like for you? Were there songs that stuck out? Was there stuff that
Well, you know, depending on who you talk to, Donna Lee, written by Parker or Miles, depending on who you talk to, Jocko puts his own spin on Donna Lee, and again, it's one of those tunes that you should recognize, but when Jocko puts a spin on it, I had no clue. I mean, it just sounds like a Jocko tune. to me, and that's song number one on the album. Hey, we did get a comment on the episode last week that they enjoyed the clips of music that we played. So maybe just take 10 seconds or 15 seconds here to play just some of song number one, Donna Lee. That's just a small clip of Donna Lee, and again, that's the
Yeah.
opening. It's the opening track on the album, and it just, again, he puts his own spin on it. First of all, and I'm not sure I would be able to pick out that it was Donna Lee without looking at the name. So
And that's interesting because I went back and forth between the Donna Lee from old school and then his version. I didn't quite recognize it. And I guess if you're playing the music, looking at a chord chart, and you go, "Oh yeah, this is Donna Lee," but I wouldn't have been like, "Oh, that's Donna Lee." Now I am. I know that it's Donna Lee because I've listened to it over and over and over again. So
yeah, that's Jocko's version of Donna Lee.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
Jocko's take on it.
Yep. The other song that I really I just enjoyed, and I didn't make many notes on my own notes this week for Jocko, just because back then, when we did this album the first time, we didn't know what we were doing. We were only 9 weeks in. So, but Opus Pocus, song number 6, is one of my favorite songs. I love the song title.
Yeah.
And the beat, the use of the thing that I liked about Jocko was he uses non-standard jazz instruments on Opus Pocus, and I'm just, if it's okay if I talk over this while it's
Yeah.
still playing, those are steel drums. I mean, come on. Okay.
Oh, I was gonna say keep that rolling because what comes next is what I got super excited about. I think they're a few bars away from where the soprano saxophone comes in.
Uh-huh.
And
Yes.
to me, to hear the steel drums mixed with Wayne's soprano and Jocko's bass line, every time I listen to the song, I just get goosebumps because I'm thinking Wayne in his documentary says to his performers, "Go fly with Miles." And I think the mistake is made thinking that Miles was the one flying. I think it was Wayne Shorter.
Yeah.
Man, he has become just such a powerhouse in my mind. That's, again, the documentary's reading the book, but that soprano on top of steel drums with Jocko's bass line, come on. And that was song Opus Pocus.
Yeah.
And-
Song number 6.
And I have it. That's my only one real note for today. Talk about that and play that music right there.
Well, and that's the thing about Jocko. I don't think he was afraid to use non-standard instruments in his
No.
composition, and it just shows his creativeness on the creativeness side. And for me, I love the mix of the different instruments. That was the big
Yeah.
thing with Jocko with me. But yeah.
Well, Matt, I'm gonna poke in here with a couple of songs. Yeah, I want to drop a couple of things in because there was a couple of songs that I noted back whenever we first did this. I don't have that date in front of me, but come on, come over.
Oh yeah.
Oh, just
Oh yeah.
just wow.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other would be "Speak Like a Child," and that had Herbie Hancock on it. and that had Herbie Hancock on it. That was irrelevant, that name. Really, it was. It was a key player. I get it. And over time, that became a standard go-to of keyboardists and sound makers.
Well, here, you know what? Why don't I
You-
do this? I'll start the slideshow real quick,
Okay.
and you can drop a couple of those over the slideshow.
Yeah, absolutely. That'd be great.
Come on, come over.
So I just grabbed a picture of the actual CD cover.
You afraid that you won't like it, but you don't understand. One thing, my brother, I can tell you true. The more time you spend feeling happy, the less time you'll be blue.
I love that. This steampunk, yeah, steampunk for me. I mean, you know, Rush did it on Clockwork.
Yeah.
Which album was it? Anyways, the whole steampunk thing is really interesting. I just love it. Okay, well, I'll leave that up for just another couple of seconds, and then the next slide is the last slide. So today in jazz history, March 18th, 1951, guitarist Bill Frisell was born in Baltimore, Maryland. Why Bill is important to me is because Bill filled in for Pat Metheny in an ECM recording session and became ECM's in-house guitar player for the next 7 years after that.
Wow.
Yeah. So Pat couldn't make it to a recording session. He called the studio and said, "Hey, I can't make it, but here's Bill. Let me introduce you to Bill Frisell. Bring him in and let him record for me." And so Bill went in, and ECM hired him as the in-studio guitarist.
Man, that's 7 years with ECM. Come on, man. Yeah, Pat can't make it. We got Bill coming in. Oh, you're hired. Man, well,
Yeah.
that was a good little audio break to check out some of those songs on that, and thanks for that slideshow in there.
The album one more time, Jaco Pastorius, self-titled album, Jaco Pastorius from 1975. Here's just a picture of the CD and the cover. You all know what it looks like because you've been listening to it all week with us. So I just pulled a couple of pictures off the website, and I don't know. I found those two really interesting. Jaco I think he was an intense dude. You know, when he put the bass in his hand, I think his level of intensity, you can kind of see those in those two pictures there, how intense he really was. The next one, the reason
That's
I put it in there, yeah, isn't that cool? I like the steampunk look. You know, anyways, Rush did it wasn't a steampunk album, but they had artwork that I remember being real steampunk that was always interesting to me. And so it's just being a Rush fan and the steampunk, the way they did it. And, you know, you put Jaco, put Jaco in the steampunk look, and man, I don't know. I was just digging it. I didn't cite the artist of this. I'm sorry. I just pulled it off of Google this morning. So anyways, next slide. Jaco, 1951 to 1987. Dude was only 35 years old. Did you read anything about how he died?
A little bit.
Okay. Unfortunately, he was beat up outside an after hours club in South Florida. And he passed away due to his injuries.
And it just a shame to lose him at that age.
Yeah.
Where?
Well, we've talked about it before. Where would music be if he was still alive today? And you got artist Jim Morrison and yeah, name a few others that passed away too soon.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, unfortunately, we lost him too soon. Influences was always funk music for him. That was his biggest influence. He wanted to play funk. He wanted to play jazz. The album that we're talking about, Jaco Pastorius, was his first solo album. Although the dates didn't quite line up because he did have another solo album, I think, the year before, but I don't think they released it until Self-Titled came out. So I was a little confused about that.
You're talking about the album that was actually called Jaco,
Jaco.
and then it was rebranded as Reborn. I can't find it right now. I did have it written down somewhere. It was several years later before that album actually came out.
So he recorded that before he recorded this one, but it didn't come out until later. So
Yep.
yeah. Anyways, the genres that I put were jazz, fusion, post bop, and funk. Now the post bop I wondered about. That was what was listed on the wiki page. I wondered how you could go post bop with it, but I agree with the other three. Jazz, fusion, and funk, for sure. He had a good career. Played with Weather Report, and then he played with another group called Word of Mouth, which was also it was Herbie, right? Or was
Yes.
it Wayne? Yeah, it was okay. Yeah, it was Word of Mouth was an album that he did with a group that he did with Herbie. He does have a website. It's on the background on my computer in the background here, jacopastorius.com. So if you get a chance, go check out Jaco's website. There's a lot of great information on the website that we didn't even get to cover in our show today. But the rabbit hole for me, and well, for you too, was Weather Report, Wayne Shorter, and Pat Metheny. I mean, we've already discussed that. Quotes though, I pulled up a couple of quotes from Jaco to put on the slide. It sounds like something Jaco would say. It ain't bragging if you can back it up.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And he could certainly back it up. One of the other quotes from Jaco: music is the only thing keeping the planet together. And man, sometimes I feel like jazz is the only thing keeping me together.
Right. Right.
But anyways, next slide. Today in jazz history, today is March 18th of 2024, but in 1951, guitarist Bill Frisell was born in Baltimore, Maryland. Now, the reason I found this interesting and I included it in the slideshow was Bill filled in for Pat Metheny in an ECM recording session. Pat couldn't make the recording session, and he called the studio and said, "I'm sending this guy named Bill to fill in for me for the recording." ECM loved him so much that they hired Bill as their in-house studio guitarist for the next 7 years. So anybody who can fill in for Pat Metheny is okay in my book. And so I just, right. So I just wanted to include that little bit today in jazz history. What do you think about that? Pretty cool.
That is so very cool.
Yeah.
7 years.
Yep.
He sat in as ECM's in-house guitar.
Yep.
That's an honor in and of itself, just to have that recognition. But if, as much as we talk about Pat Metheny, if that's going to be your replacement, hey, I got a guy. You know what kind of expectations are there.
Mhm.
That is so
Yep.
cool. Bill Grissom.
Now, unfortunately, I just found that quote this morning and did my little research this morning, so I have not had a chance to listen to Bill. But you can bet your bottom dollar that
Oh yeah,
I'll be
I'm going to be all over that.
I'll be running down that rabbit hole later.
I'm going to do a swan dive into it. Let's find out where that goes. Because you know, and I know that you're listening, Dad, Wes Montgomery, being from Indianapolis. When it comes to Wes, hopefully you've listened to some of it and you've checked out Pat, but what's Bill like? So I'm personally excited to go find out what what his guitar style is. And if
Yeah.
it's ECM, we get into this much later down the whole with who ECM is, where their sound came from, what were they all about. So that's going to be in and of itself pretty cool, because we have a lot of respect for a lot of the artists on ECM. So what is Bill capable of, and that's going to be
Yeah.
cool.
You know, one
Uh,
thing we forgot to do, we introduced ourselves. We forgot to introduce the channel.
Hey, by the way, take it away.
We're the Unconnoisseurs. We're doing this because Drew and I, we were in a rut listening to music, and we decided to go down this jazz journey together. Once we started our journey, we thought that we could help at least one person find and come to love jazz. So that's why we're doing this. You know, we are unconnoisseurs. We are not experts. The ratings that we give, the artists that we talk about, we're doing it purely from a selfish perspective. We are not professional musicians. We don't know anything more than you do. Trust me. I did watch an interview today from Oscar Peterson. Thank you for sending that to me, Drew. I absolutely loved it. It was a great 20-minute interview. One of the quotes that hit me more than anything in that interview, Oscar said, well, the interviewer asked him, if he was not a musician, how would he listen to jazz? How would he be able to judge jazz? And this is what Oscar Peterson says: I'd have to go the emotional way. Did this performance move me? Did it reach me? And if it did, I'd have to ask myself why. So, end quote. Oscar Peterson, piano player, jazz musician. It was a great interview. I think I will make sure that you've got
the link's going to be down below, but that was the Oscar Peterson on the Dick Cavett show in 1979. But the reason I came across it was Rick Beato's conversation about that interview. And so if you're going to hear a snippet about it, he labeled it as the most insane music interview. That was Rick Beato. That was January 5th of this year. So he has some comments. And Matt, what a quote. I'll have to take the emotional route.
Yeah. And that's our musical journey too, because we don't know diddly squat about, I mean, we do have a basic, musical background, but as far as jazz goes, how does it make us feel? That's where our ratings come from.
Yeah. And it's, for me, it's still not about a rating system on how does it feel. Each album brings to the table something that I can feel, a way that it creates mood, it creates emotion, it creates a setting for the day. It may create the setting for the week listening to that particular album, whether it's just a Jocko album or a Pat Metheny. Just turn it on and be done. Go sail away somewhere, because that is your journey. Or it's turning on. I had to turn the album on the way home from work today, a Clifford Brown Max Roach album. I mean, it just had to go there. That's the kind of mood. Oh, yeah, that'll be a while. I'm sorry. That was not a spoiler. We don't know if we're going to see or hear a video.
I mean, who's Clifford Brown? We don't know.
That is Clifford. He's a big red dog. But the interview about that, going to the emotion. I was working on a solo this morning for summertime. It's something that we'll be doing, and I'd written it out. I'm playing the solo, and I just can't get the timing right. I was really off. And so I went back, and I had the backtrack to it. I had the chord chart in front of me, and I'm playing just through the song. And I realized that it's not about timing. It's not about the critique of every note being right. It's not, you got to feel it. And so I closed the book where I'd written the solo out, and I started to play it like I felt it. And I thought, man, that's jazz. That's jazz music to me. How does it make you feel? And if you rate it based on that, would I go back to that album? So I had some other notes. I want to read this really quick. Sure. And then I've got a question. Jocko, a kaleidoscopic creative. That term best describes him. However, I had this question, and this is going to raise some eyebrows here with a few minutes remaining of the show. does he overplay? Did you ever get to the point listening to him on any of his albums that you thought, man, just ease up on the bass line?
Well, there are artists that are farther along in our journey, you and I together, that we've encountered that I have felt they have overplayed. Unfortunately, or fortunately, Jocko is not one of those artists. I do not believe Jocko overplays.
Okay.
I think everything he does is intentional. Yeah, he's brash. Yeah, he's showy and flashy on stage. He doesn't like to be outplayed. You and I watched that concert with him and Michael Brecker, and Brecker's coming up a little, well, in just a few weeks we got Brecker coming up, and Jocko was not about to be overplayed by Michael Brecker, and it shows in the video. But
Yeah.
as far as, no, no, I don't think so. Do you?
I don't. I don't. I
Okay.
had to ask that question because I did make that note beforehand. I think that there are times when he's heavy on the bass. There are times when he does the noise creation of off of the fret, just kind of tinging it a little bit, that makes it a little easier to listen to. Is that in 2011, Jocko was entered into the Grammy Hall of Fame.
Yes.
There is by no doubt, no reason whatsoever he shouldn't have been into there. And for that reason, I think is why we ended up rating it the way we did.
Okay. Let me ask you a question before before you go on. Let me ask you a question. Did this album shake your
That was
world?
my question to you. This week, Jaco Pastorius shook my world. From just the album alone, it shook my world. The music that we listened to earlier and the things that stand out to us shook my world. Did it shake yours?
Absolutely, yes.
And
I mean, this is one of those. This is one of the ones. This is one of the ones where we really started coming into our own journey here, because we kept we kept falling and falling and going down the journey. So you ready to rate?
yeah, oh yeah.
Okay. All right.
It shook my world, but his weather report stuff as well, his Pat Metheny stuff, the rabbit holes that we ran down this week, Jocko in general will be somebody that I recommend to everybody. Listen to his musical capabilities, from the funk and fusion to the jazz and the rock. That to me was just a whole lot of fun, and it is kind of a breather from the Tubby Hayes saxophone, or the
Mhm.
Brad Maldou trio, or the Gregory Porter vocals. So it was kind of a break in some of that more subdued or easy fun listening, and just to chase Jocko.
Yeah. Well,
Rating?
let me bring this to you too. Jocko did not make the list in '99 or 2006, so this is the first year that Jocko made the top 100 list of albums that shook the world from Jazzwise. So I'm thankful that he's on the list. I'm thankful that that we got to experience him, and I'm ready.
John Newey and team over at Jazzwise Magazine. I throw your name out there. Hopefully, I'm saying it right. Thanks for putting him on the list. I think that anybody like us who's learning about jazz from your top 100, the world would not have been the same in 2022 had you not put that album in there. Jocko deserved that by every means, and I think it was probably, out of the albums that I've listened to, the best album to have on that top 100 list. So big shout out, Jazzwise. Thanks for putting him on there. We
Yeah.
wouldn't have known what we didn't know.
Right. Well, and we still don't know what we don't know.
Yeah,
That's the
I-
fun part of our
I
fun part of our
live
journey.
that life. So what was your rating? What
Uh,
did you rate him at? What
I
did we
could
rate
not-
him at?
I could not go all the way to the top, but man, I tell you what, I want to come back and listen to Jocko. And Jocko's recognizable to me. I had fun listening to the music. He made me feel great when I listened to his music. I went with a 9.
For the same reason. I went with the
Yeah.
9 as well. That's what we both put him at.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how many more albums in the weeks and months to come. If we're on same or similar pages, or if we're on different pages. But I couldn't go to that perfect 10. I think that in time we'll find maybe an album or two that we do go to a 10. At
Well,
least I hope we do.
well, we've had one.
Oh, we
Brett,
did.
yeah, oh yeah, oh we had two actually. That perfect.
Were
Yeah.
those back to? Oh no, they weren't back
Yes,
to
they
back.
were. Yes, well, they were back to back for me. Yeah, you didn't go 10 for Brad, but
No,
but
I
yeah,
think
we
that
agreed.
if
We
I'm
agreed on
guessing,
10.
it was Kamazi, and for me it was Gregory Porter.
Porter. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. Now I'm seeing it. Yep.
Yeah.
10 for Kamazi, 10 for Porter.
Man, Kamazi's new stuff coming out.
I know, right?
I think that I'm going to do a midweek conversation just to talk myself through that album, just the prologue and everything that's gone into it, the documentaries behind the scenes, and ooh, I love Kamazi. I do.
We
There's no
do.
doubt about
Yes,
that.
we do. Yes, we
Um,
do.
But this week we
Go
are
ahead.
going to go to a vocalist. We're getting away from the saxophone from Tubby or the bass guitar. In this week's album, number 90 in our countdown from 100 down to 1, number 90, that's 11 albums in now, is Cassandra Wilson, Blue Light Till Dawn. And this is on Blue Note Records, both CD and LP. And it came out in 1993. As I say that, I'm looking through the list of names that are on there just to see if there's anybody that I recognize. There's not. As we've said before with both Gregory Porter and Cecile McLaurin Salvant, which was number 97, I'm not big on the jazz vocal. But Gregory kind of opened my mind to that. Maybe I should be paying attention to jazz vocalists. This is Blue Note. I don't think we've had anybody
No.
else.
Nope, nothing on Blue Note yet.
So I might actually recommend looking into Blue Note Records, because that'll be the first of that, and we'll see that name again, I'm sure, as well as our RVG production on that. So yeah, keep an eye on Blue Note Records. But this was Cassandra Wilson, number 90. The slide is on the screen and will be as we wrap this show up. Cassandra Wilson, Blue Light Till Dawn, on Blue Note Record in 1993.
So let me just put it to you this way. If you've not heard Cassandra, definitely make time to listen to Cassandra. Our rating will show next week how we felt about Cassandra. We want to know what you think about Cassandra as well. So take a few minutes, take an hour and listen to Cassandra. Come back to our show next week. Give us some comments about what you thought about Cassandra Wilson.
Yeah.
Because she's definitely worth a listen to. Definitely.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
As we wrap this up on Cassandra, that reminded me of something to say as well. Any album that you've listened to, drop a comment on whatever you're at right now. If you're listening to newer musicians, if you come across like a Terrence Blanchard or Ibrahim Malouf and you think, hey, you guys have to check this guy out, drop a comment in that too. Or let us know, hey, you guys are buffoons. I can't believe you're just now learning about jazz. You're both old. You got gray beards and everything, worried about breaking hips. Comment, send some feedback, because
You know what? Like the channel too.
Yeah.
You're not gonna. It doesn't cost you anything to give us a thumbs up. It doesn't cost you anything to subscribe to the channel and listen to us buffoons talk for an
and
hour.
hit the little bell next to the subscribe. That way you get notifications when these get posted, both on Wednesdays and any other midweek stuff that we've got coming out soon.
Yeah, because we got a couple of interesting midweek stuff coming out that we've got planned, and I can't wait to talk more about it. I'm not going to give anything away today, but some of that midweek stuff that we've got coming, I'm super excited about. You can always email us at theunconnoisseur@gmail.com. That's theunconnoisseur@gmail. The website is theunconnoisseur.com as well. you can find me. I do some midweek stuff on TikTok where I talk about some newer stuff, some older stuff, some stuff that we're listening to, promote the show a little bit at the Unconnoisseur as well on TikTok. Drew, you're going to focus on shorts,
Yep.
and so you can always come back for shorts at the Unconnoisseur YouTube channel. Thank you guys so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. Make sure to listen to Cassandra this week and let us know what you think. Come back next week for our review.
We'll see y'all.
All right. Thanks.
Cheers.
Bye.